special day because we have as our guest a great author and teacher of the Nordic culture. He has written 31 books about runes, Galder, Grima, Nordic mythology, and Viking history. All these books have been translated in English, Spanish, German, French, and Japanese. Moreover,
Yes.
he has been awarded officially as a traditional martial artist in 2016.
Yeah, the master. Yeah, yes, the traditional martial artist of the year that year.
Yes,
Yeah.
by the Spanish Federation of Football and Martial Arts. He is also a musician of punk and rock, an illustrator of dark graphic novels, and an ex-screenwriter of Walt Disney Comics, which also continues as the main vocalist of Galdra. He also has collaborated with Wardruna and the recent group Urthro. So welcome to the great Lars Magnar Enoksen. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's a great honor. So yeah.
Welcome to us too. So how are you doing?
Oh, I am doing great. I actually have a good friend from visiting from Norway, so we have been doing a museum tour the latest days. So that has been super nerdy, going to the historical and art museums, and cultural history museums. So I am totally in a super good mood.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more. We know that on 2013 you were invited to a congress in Norway to share about Glima and Galder, which are your specialty, and also about the rune. In this spiritualist congress, you were teaching about the knowledge of the Galder, the runic Galder.
Yeah, you mean that was actually, yes, that was actually a congress about or what is it called in English? What is that called when you're or a psychic that are receptive? What is that called? Medium, yeah, yes. So it was at a medium congress. Yes, that is correct. Yes.
So the question is, will you consider runes and Galder as part of the paganism of Scandinavia?
Oh yes, oh yes. So am I allowed to also say it with more than yes and no? Yes. It is a Galders, definitely, because Galders are, it's more like, oral incantations, and you can also make them as symbols, and it is when you want something. It is like an affirmation. It can also be a curse. It depends where you are, what side on the Galder you are, the one sending it or receiving it. However, runes are also, of course, a part of normal communication, like written communication, and that is of course before we here in Scandinavia we became Christianized around year 1000. So before that, of course, when runes were used, they were used by heathens, because we were heathens at the time. But then after that, it could be used by both heathens and Christians. So it was first when around 1300s, because around 1200s the change. Before it was, you wrote the native language with runes, and you wrote Latin with Latin letters, so it was the Christians priest or bishop, they wrote in Latin, but the people's language was with runes. However, around the year 12, in the 13th century, in the 1200s, then they decided to write down the province laws, the laws of the different provinces in Scandinavia, and that they decided to write in the native language with Latin letters. So then so that made so then the runes want to compete it. Then it became the fully stang dotted medieval runes that were competing with writing down the laws in the native tongue. And we only have one full law book written like that. That is 200 pages with runes, Codex Runicus, from around late 13th century. But obviously, we lost, the runes lost it because we are writing in Latin letters here in Scandinavia. However, so it was first then, in the 1330s and 1340s, we have when they are banning the runes, because when they are not used as writing, they're of course used as magic, and that was not so popular with the church, because before that we have church bells, we have incense bowls written with runes, and also when you baptize. So before that it was no problem writing with runes on a Christian object. But when we have lost the fight as that it should be the common way of communicating when writing, then of course it became more obvious that the runes are also used in magic, and that was not so it's first around the middle of the 1300s they become banning, it became outlawed, but we were still using runes up until the late 1500s, and that is when we were starting to studying the runes. So that is why the runes has never died out in Scandinavia. Sorry if I give too long answer. Yeah.
It's very interesting to know the context of the runes, history. Now that you're talking about dates, we would like to know a little bit more. So is this runes and Galder are mainly from Scandinavia, or maybe they are from the Samis or the Vikings?
Okay, yes, that can be, because I understand, when you are in Mexico, this Balkan Sami or that can be confusing, because both the Sami people and the Scandinavian, we both live in Scandinavia. But no, the Samis never used the runes, and but they don't call, and they do something orally very close to Galders, but they call it yoika. So yoika is their expression of when they're making, oral songs. But when you make a yoik, I'm talking the Sami, that can of course be, in medical, but it can also be that they tell a story, it's like a song, a storytelling. And Galders are never storytelling. So Galders are used, only used in that you want to achieve. No, that is short. It is only used in sorcery and witchcraft. So that is and it's also used to scare people, because a yoik can be very beautiful, and yes, you can think that, I think that, Galders are beautiful, but it is not the usual, how you define how a Galder sound, because it has a little eerie sound, and also sometimes very powerful, very loud, which is of course beautiful.
It is very powerful.
Yeah.
Have dedicate your life to talk about these Nordic treasures.
Yes.
Do you come from an ancestral lineage that wish to continue alive? or do you just have studied this because it is very interesting for you?
Yes, so that I can, yes, I come from an ancestral lineage, because it was my father who introduced me when I was 8 years old. So I still remember when it happened, so that was how the interest started, and to explain to me, what Vikings and berserkers, what, and that we have this some culture thing that to be proud of, but then so that was when I was very young, and I was, early teenager. But then when I became, later teenagers, 16, 17 years, I became interested in music, and also to train my body to be strong and beautiful. So then I got that interest. But then when I was 26, because when I was 26, I thought, I am not young anymore. I could not say that I was young, because I was pushing 30, so I was getting really old. I was thinking, and I thought, what shall I do with my life? And then I remember, but when I was young, I really liked this, with the runes and history. Why don't I, pick it up again, to see what it was. And so then I did a willfully to go back to it, and that was also the time when I became interested in Glima. I found out that there were something also has survived on Iceland. So there I started meeting people that were, keepers of the flame, the last ones that knew a lot of old stuff, and I have always had good memories, and I'm also, very dedicated, almost in a manic way, to learn things. So I was, of course, perfect for these old people to speak with, because I have great memory, and I have no problem if it takes a long time to learn. So if you think that I can learn this in 1 year, 2 years, I knew that, okay, this would take maybe 10 years, that would take 20 years, that will maybe 30. So I had no problem to understand that will be the scope, and also but I didn't know the wideness, the width of it, until I got really deep in it, because it never ends, because if you become interested in learning, that is when the decay starts, then you will never get better, you will only get worse. But if you keep on learning or awake, then it continues. So it is a mixture. Yes, it started with a lineage, but I have always been giving lineage by interacting with very traditional bearer, because here in Scandinavia it is not I who can search up them. This was before internet. Here it is them who search up me. So when I suddenly appear at different places or start writing books, I get contacted by, okay, can you come and meet us in Copenhagen or in Stockholm, at this museum, and then they say that you're maybe interested in this. We have a library here with all rune books published since the late 16th century. Do you want to come here and visit? Yeah, of course, and yes, so they open up possibilities, and then you're also introduced to other, what I say, very smart people who are much older and has studied it much longer than me. But now I am over 60, so now I am entering that sphere also. So now suddenly I am a person that also search up others, and people search up me. Yes.
It's very interesting what you mentioned. How from a young age you were very interested in this practice. And we have been experienced nowadays and for the past 10 years this rebirth of the Viking culture and the
Yeah,
Nordic
yeah,
tradition with
yeah,
TV series, books,
yeah.
courses, uh, even with Asatru. Okay,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you believe coincidence, or will you consider that is the memory in the world they
Oh,
want to remain and don't want to forget this knowledge?
yes. The thing you said last, to not forget, is not knowledge. But this thing, that popularity with the Vikings, that is a fashion, that is a fad. That is something that came, like 10 years ago, and maybe in just a few years, there will be something else that is what, because this is a worldwide interest has become, and also not only movies, it's also in the music. There were a lot of things. So so yes, I have also, of course, been, speculating why are they so interested, in the Vikings now? Because when I was young, it was cowboys and Indians or samurais, because I thought that was very exotic because I lived in Scandinavia. So I think that the one element must be that it is exotic, that, Scandinavian Vikings is exotic. However, there is one aspect that I think is positive. It is like, because I see that many people relate to it. And one thing is that, we were in Europe, the last to be Christianized, so we were never, the Roman Empire never came. Here it stopped. We didn't. So we wanted, to be free. Have our very democratic laws, and that you should work. It has always been, said that it's a tribal society, but it's also a community society. What is best, for the village, for the community. That is how the laws are made, and it should be equal for men and women. So that was what, outside Scandinavia in the Viking times. That was what now we were in the 800. That was what Scandinavia was famous for. That we have so democratic laws and things. And of course, we were also known that we were good at fighting. I don't know what they got that idea from, but it is like, we have also, when you say about, plunder, you usually say, rape and pillage, when you got, but actually the Vikings never raped, so there is no mention in the Anglo-Saxon chronicles or the Frankish of Viking raping, but there are lots of rapings mentioned by the Frankish, again, the Frankish and Irish, again, English, you know that. However, it is mentioned in one Arabic source. It was one of the from the Varangian Guard that raped a woman, because it is written in a chronicle, because it was so weird what they do, or the Arabic chronicle thought it was very rare, because after that has happened, his fellows in the Varangian Guard, they actually killed him. So they killed him, and they gave the victim, the woman that was raped, they gave her all his belongings, and she could get it, and they killed him, because that was not acceptable behavior. So it was very, the moral was very high about what you can do or not. So for instance, violence, what not, manslaughter was actually not regarded as bad, because you have a possibility to fight back. You have a possibility to do heroic response. However, if you murder, that means that you kill a person, not tell about it. That was regarded as stealing. You make something behind some people's back, and they cannot defend themselves because they don't see what it, and so stealing was worse, you know, or if you make murder, it was worse because it was regarded as stealing. You did in the hidden. So of course, you know, when I also I go into other things, but what I want to say is that this, you know, interest of the Vikings, if you and the hidden culture, because if you start look into it, there are many very positive things. You know, for instance, the Vikings never tried to enforce their religion on any place that they took over, you know. So because religion was a personal thing, but not the laws, you know. The way you act in the community to make the community survive, that is important. But religion is totally a personal thing. So it is a very free-minded way of looking, and that was of course the mistake that they did against the Christians, because they thought, okay, this is just another god, you know, what is the problem? We have 50, 60, you know, that is just one more. If they like that, but if there is a monotheistic religion, you know, they want to ban all the other gods, and that was what happened. So yes, so this interest of the Viking culture and the Asatru is interesting, because what are they seeing? And of course, many people see, you know, a fantasy, you know, they see what they want to believe, and so that can be creative too. But the core of the, you know, paganism and hedonism is great, of course, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what you mentioned is very important, because sometimes TV series can mislead people.
Mm, mm.
There's something that they were not going on those times.
Yeah, yes,
Very important that people that has discernment and the
yes,
check history and the study
yeah.
of the study of it, because
Oh,
it
yes, 100% correct, because but if we talk about misleading, there is, you know, you know, I of course I'm active on the online, you know, so I'm surprised, you know, the warped ideas that are circulating, even racist thought, you know, supremacist, you know, very strange idea that they suddenly link to heathenry, and I that is totally wrong. And also that because there is not so many that are, you know, really hardcore, you know, keepers of the flame. So there are many people popping up and saying that they, you know, they know the answers, and if people believe them, you know, that means that they are stupid too, you know. It is because it is not only the person that meets is you know, trying to fool them. It is also they will not go anywhere if there was not so many fools around, because you have to be critical, but you have to be critical the right way, because it is like some information is super valuable. That is something, not something you just give out for free, you know. You have to learn it the hard way, you know, because if it's easily accessible, that means that it's probably not worth so much and probably wrong too.
was
Yeah.